Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Please remain on mute for the duration of this program. There will be a question and answer portion at the end of the presentation, and the chat box will be open if there are any questions or comments. On behalf of the Hawaii Worker Center, thank you for joining us today. My name is Sergio Alcabilli, and I am part of the Hawaii Worker Center sponsoring committee. The Hawaii Worker Center envisions a Hawaii in which all workers are empowered to exercise their right to organize for their social, economic, and political well-being. As a nonprofit organization, it is a resource of information, education, training, and organizing for Hawaii's working class. It collaborates with labor, faith-based organizations, and others who share in enhancing the well-being of workers in our state. Right now, I'd actually like to introduce the Reverend Samuel L. Domingo, who serves on the steering committee of the Hawaii Workers Center. Reverend Domingo pastored United Methodist churches in California and Hawaii for 37 years before retiring in 2016. He is a proud immigrant. He is proud of his immigrant roots and upbringing in Kalihi, which informs his continuing work for justice and equity for, with, and among working people. Welcome, Reverend Domingo.
Mahalo, Sergio. Aloha, everyone. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected all of us here in Hawaii, and our working families have been the most affected. Job loss and layoffs are already hurting the most vulnerable. Loss of jobs, loss of healthcare coverage move many to the edge of poverty. Rent and mortgage payments are now running at least 2 months late. And our State Department of Labor and Industrial Relations has been tasked with processing the flood of claims for unemployment insurance, as well as the pandemic and unemployment assistance programs. Monies provided by Congress through the CARES Act. But needless to say, they were overwhelmed by the volume of claims, which resulted in a backlog that numbered in the tens of thousands. An antiquated computer system coupled with a lack of adequate staffing and technical support makes timely responses impossible. The Hawaii Workers Center sponsoring committee met in late July with the head and staff of DLIR to find out what steps were being done to address the deficiencies. We came away disappointed that things were not moving fast enough. A month later, Hawaii Workers Center joined with other partners in another meeting, and it too proved disappointing. The backlog still remains of at least 10,000. And even though a new call center is being set up, adjudicators still need to be hired and trained so that they can verify each claimant's eligibility. In the meantime, thousands wait. Today, we want to feature the faces of workers who have been waiting a long time. And we hope that their voices will find a way to the ears of our leaders in government and to those who are tasked to address the needs and assist these people now so desperate. Yoko, will you take over?
So here during the pandemic, we were able to, the Hawaii Workers Center has been conducting outreach in communities, including regular participation at a church food distribution site. These are some of the interviews we have collected. First, we will hear from Jimmy.
Yeah, simula nung nawalan ako ng trabaho. Tawag ako ng tawag dahil nagpunta pa nga ako sa KPT branch. Sabi nila, tawagan mo itong phone number. Pero pag tumatawag ako, laging sinasabi doon sa volume punong-puno ang tawag eh. Walang sumasagot. Kaya natutulog na lang ako sa sakyan kasi 3 months na palalayasin ka sa
She has to enable.
kasi yung mga gamit ko nilagay ko na lang sa storage.
Okay.
Para mas mura, 200 plus. Kaya lang wala pa rin pumapasok, hindi naman ako makapasok, wala naman bakante na applyan. Kaya ang inaalala ko, unti-unti kong binebenta yung mga naipon kong mga ibang gamit para meron ng pag-gastin. Nabihira pa sa mga kaibigan. Wala kang magawa eh. Kahit isa man lang kasi wala akong pang-rent, wala akong pang-gas, wala. Buti na lang at may pagkain ay binibigay. Kaya yun ang dahilan na naghihirap ako ngayon kahit man lang may dumating na isa-isa lang sana para merong pangdugsong lang sa mga problema ko. Ang ko naman, sige po, mag-rally tayo.
Now,
Simula nung
now we will hear from Kai.
Aloha, my name is Kai Blair Stan, and for work, I, like many people, I have multiple jobs. I work at Leeward Community College as a lecturer. I work part-time at the Hawai'i Nature Center, and I've also worked for the Pacific Island Institute as a trip or guide leader. I applied for unemployment because over the summer, my work with the Pacific Island Institute being a tour group, everything was canceled, and my hours were greatly reduced at the Hawai'i Nature Center. So I worked maybe 7 or 8 days over the summer, 5 to 6 hours a day, so not really enough to survive off of. The process to apply for unemployment, I found it pretty straightforward and easy on the website. I was able to set everything up and put all my information. That was fine. The problem was when it came to the follow-up on my claims. I submitted 8 claims total over June and July, and all of my claims except for the first one, which was denied, all of my other claims as of today, which is September 21st, they all say pending. So I have no idea why or what's happening with those claims. I've called multiple times over the summer to follow up. No answer. I only get the automated service and not any contact with an actual person, so I'm unable to ascertain what's going on. And I've also tried emailing. Again, no response to my emails. So for me, I'm fortunate in that I have money saved and that just my current lifestyle, I'm able to, and I have been able to survive during that kind of crunch time over the summer. I'm working again at Leeward Community College this fall, so I do have an income at this point. So unlike others, I was very fortunate in that it wasn't a long-term impact. As far as a solution, I have a great recommendation. Clearly, it seems like the unemployment office needs more people. And guess what? There's a lot of unemployed people in Hawaii now. So why don't they employ all the people who are laid off to start processing other people's unemployment monies and claims? Seems like a great solution, no-brainer, and a win-win. Thanks for listening. I hope that something can be done and that the unemployment services can be improved here in Hawaii.
This is a mother and daughter story of Nolia and Misty.
Hi, I'm Misty, and this is my mom, Nolia. I work in the mall, and she's an Uber driver.
Oh, I stopped driving for over March 26 because of health reasons. I have diabetes, I'm old. You know, I have underlying sicknesses, and I don't want to get that.
Okay, so at first we applied for the regular unemployment insurance, but we were both denied. They redirected us to the pandemic unemployment assistance, and we were able to get our benefits from there until they said that there was a problem with our qualification and that we no longer qualified, and they redirected us again to the regular unemployment assistance where we had to file our claims and claim certifications once more.
It took a month before we received the COA payment, and then it continues weekly until suddenly they decided that an employee rather than an independent contractor. So I applied again at the regular unemployment, but it took a while again, and up to this time I'm still waiting for 7 unpaid weeks. Of course it is difficult, it's stressful, you know, because you have bills to pay and stuff like that. Even with the 600 bonus, it's not enough to pay, you know, for everything. Like enough to pay some of the bills, but that's not including food, gas.
One of the main pieces of advice was still to contact the UI office, which has just been impossible to do. We've called several times throughout the day. Sometimes we called like almost all day, and we can't get through. And so a lot of our questions have just gone answered. So it was lucky enough for us that we were able to attend the webinar that helped answer some of those questions.
I think there should be a better system to deal with this unexpected problem, crisis. And I think like it is poorly managed. And there should be more help to the people, especially from the federal government.
Hi.
This is the story of Carlina.
Computer, diyan mo, anak ko. Iso nga patultulungan na ka diti anak ko. Irata, ang kamangalat ti form, di unemployment, ta may update dayjay employment ko. Panada, tawag na pang kami, close mat. Iso nga, agtaw-tawag kami, close mat, ta recording. So, awanan, dayjay lang tamot ta. Ganat ta pending ko na damot ta tas diyan.
And now we will hear from Stuart.
Hi, my name is Stuart Sutton, and prior to COVID, I was working in Medicare Advantage sales for a company called Humana. And then following my departure, I applied for unemployment benefits online through the unemployment site. And luckily enough, I had done that in the past, so it was a familiar process to me. So it wasn't all that cumbersome. The difference between filing this time and the times before is the times before I got the money immediately. This time, the circumstances by my departure were a little different. And so, understandably so, the unemployment office wanted an explanation or what they call an appeal to explain, why I think I was entitled to the benefits. And, as such, I filled out the appeal paperwork and I waited. And I waited and waited, 3 months, and I still didn't hear anything back from the office. And suddenly I got a call, probably about 3.5 months after my application and subsequent appeal, and the office called and wanted me to provide an explanation, an explanation in regards to why they thought I was entitled to the money for the unemployment benefits, which I had already stated on the appeal paperwork to begin with. And thus, I found it kind of bizarre that they'd be calling if I had already stated that on the application. So it was a little disconcerting to get that call. So I think there's clearly a break in the chain of command, and there's definitely a bottleneck behind the appeals process. And I hope that's something that they can work on in the future, because it's difficult to make financial and life decisions when your income situation is very unclear. So that's my message. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Captain Bill Simon. They call me the Southeast Army World. I've been with the Southeast Army since Marshall Island 22 years ago. Moved to Kauai 3 years ago. We were able to work with the Marshallese community. And when the pandemic hit us, it does really well.
We're privileged today to have Captain Bill Simon with
the Salvation Army. And Bill was going to talk about his experiences with Marshall Lee's claimants. Bill, welcome to the media conference. Can you describe some of the situations you've seen?
Yeah, between me and my wife, we were able to serve somewhere between 11 to 15 individuals regarding their unemployment. 8 of them got their return back, their unemployment, but rest of them didn't got it back yet. One of the things that they faced, especially with the Marshallees, is that they don't understand the procedures of how to do the unemployment. That's one of the main things that they faced. And along with my wife and myself, we were able to serve them by translating what it is that they are inputting us. They just put information in that, but they don't understand what it is. And for us to walk alongside them and help them fill out the paperwork. But there was hurdles that they faced while they with their unemployments. One is because they didn't renew, or in that compact of free association between the agreement between America and Marshall Islands, they didn't put it in a fine wording, if you will, are not part of the rest of America's territory. In other words, they after 9/11 they didn't mention any of us go back. They call it Compact of Free Association country, with just only 2: Micronesia, Marshall Islands, and Palau. Only 3 in existence, if I remember it right. And one of the things that they face is because they said unemployment office talked to several folks that we helped fill out the paperwork, saying that they're not eligible for unemployment. Come to find out from our consulate here in Honolulu, saying that yes, we are eligible for that. And those are the hurdles that we face. One is the translation of the word, of course, the application and all that. 2, the procedures. And 3rd is misunderstood of the RMI country, relationship between RMI and United States. Those are the 4 main things that we face when we fill out the paper, especially now that we face things with the COVID and all that good stuff. That's about the only thing that I have.
Bill, mahalo for your presentation. We've heard so many sad and frustrating stories of unemployed workers. This caused our Hawaii Workers Center to raise certain demands that we think the DLIR should meet. And basically we're asking that they reopen direct and in-person filing of claims at the DLIR offices and other sites in the community, and have language and computer assistance available, particularly in working class neighborhoods such as Kalihi-Palama and windward and leeward Oahu. If credit unions and banks are able to allow safe in-person access to their facilities, the DLIR should be able to do the same. Secondly, the DLIR needs to be more transparent and improve communications, and the communications with applicants have been lacking. So they need to increase their capacity to handle applicants' phone calls and emails, respond to emails, provide timely responses to questions about their claims and concerns. Many applicants have had great difficulty getting their phone calls answered and getting callbacks once they have asked questions. DLIR has recently hired and is training more staff, but the time lag is likely to be considerable before any improvement is realized. Thirdly, DLIR should expedite the long overdue modernization of the DLIR's antiquated computer mainframe system that handles and processes claims. This has been the cause for many applicants to wait for 3 or 4 months or longer while claims are being investigated or pending appeal, have even longer wait times. So they should get onto the task of modernizing their computer equipment. In these ways, I think by greater accessibility, better communication, adequate staffing, quicker claim processing, and more transparency, the DLIR can alleviate much of the stress and suffering that many thousands of unemployed workers have faced. We hope this happens soon.
Thanks, John. Now, friends, we have a few minutes so that we could have a discussion. If you have any questions or comments, we welcome them. And so please go ahead and offer your questions or comments right now. Anyone?
I can speak. I'm Erendira. I am an employee at Kukua Kalihi Valley Comprehensive Family Services. And so I have been playing a sort of role of trying to also help our patients and members of our community be able to sort of understand the unemployment application process and what they need to do and how. And at Kukua Kalihi Valley, we're so fortunate to have such a rich language access. We have many employees that are bilingual, and so I can see how it's absolutely vital to have that piece in terms of language equity and language access in order to support our community in trying to apply for unemployment. So anyways, I refer to your guys' website a lot. I'm super appreciative that I can go to your website to find whatever information I need, or if I need to brush up. Because I do a lot of things here, and this unemployment knowledge is kind of like working a muscle, and if I don't do it super frequently, it could be a little bit tricky to keep up with the last minute changes and updates. And so, yeah, thank you guys for what you're doing. I really appreciate it. I learn the most by being able to help people in our community, and then them calling me back and updating me on how that process went for them, what the DLIR told them, and so just kind of always taking notes on that stuff. Yep, that's it.
Thank you. Really appreciate those comments, because certainly the challenge also has been with language services. And when we had that second meeting with the folks at DLIR, they indeed had a challenge. One of the things that I noticed was that they contract with a local agency, but that local agency is the one that actually contracts with a mainland company to provide translation services. So the lag, if you will, in getting people to respond is really challenging. And, you know, we kind of was trying to press more on that, but they said, well, could you just hold off a bit as we try to get this thing in order? And yet at the same time, I am familiar, you know, with the judiciary system in which they line up their own, you know, folks. They have a listing of translators available at any given time, so that they can call them into court and to provide those kinds of services at the moment. And I'm just kind of baffled as to why this has not happened here, you know, with the DLIR. But I'm grateful that you have a wealth of resources there at Kalihi Valley, and certainly you know, I think this is a model that we continue need to push as well.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we've come across too in our community is that a lot of our patients don't even have Wi-Fi at home or a computer. And so we're constantly trying to figure out how to support our community in that sense. And there, frankly, are just some scenarios where the best support I can give is say, call this number and demand an interpreter immediately because it's your legal right. Which can be really scary to ask one of our, our families to do. But a lot of times my hands are tied in terms of what they can do. And so I definitely, when KKV has done community COVID testing events, I have a laptop there and right there in person, I'm trying to understand the circumstance, but it can get pretty tricky in sort of setting up folks for success, particularly with the recertification process. If you don't have a computer and you need to log in every 1 or 2 weeks to recertify, that really creates important barriers for our community.
Indeed, that is definitely a challenge, and that, there ought to be a way in which the DLIR, or at least, the government agencies know that when we have people who are, don't have those or access to computers, I mean, this is really a challenge for them. There ought to be a place in which they should be able to go down. That's why one of our demands is basically also to have some at least in-person process so that we can they can sit down with those persons and look on the computer and see what their situation is. So we're clearly coming to a challenging place where we understand that there will be more and more layoffs and people are going to be losing their jobs, and this is not going to get any better. So thank you for clarifying some of that. And to Bill, your situation among the COFA folks, I mean, I don't understand from the very beginning, why was that not made clear that you were eligible?
There was a misunderstood saying that we were just like any other place. Whether they reworded or I don't know what's the situation is. All I know is they say the Marshallese people are not eligible for that. That's what they did, and that's why we contacted our consulate and they worked through it, and come to find out that yes, we were eligible for that.
Great. Well, I'm glad at least you were able to clear that up. But again, my assumption is that this whole setup that we have had with the COFA nations throughout the years should have been understood. That whenever your immigration status should not be in question at all in that respect, because you are a different kind of setup. Your situation is different.
Correct.
So clearly, again, why is it that our state government departments do not understand, some of these things that are already laid down for a long time?
What I found out is not only affected the Marshallese people that live in Hawaii, but all around the United States. That's what we found out. That I didn't really go in depth into that, but I just contacted the consulate and I said what it is that we need to do with our people, because I don't think this is fair at all.
No. Yeah, clearly I think we need to touch back with our congressional folks and continue to clarify that and to insist that they send a strong message back to our state government that the definitions of how they treat the COFA folks should remain in place.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Any others? Any questions, comments? All right, dear friends, we really appreciate for those of you who have come on board to hear us, and we will continue to press the DLIR as well as our elected leaders to continue to improve the situation, because there are continually thousands of people who are still waiting in line. Even in my own household, I'm still trying to figure out a way to get my son to apply and to get a claim, even though he's been working on and off. And so, you know, I think every household continues to struggle and to question. And so certainly I'm trusting that what we're doing here this morning will help to move the needle, if you will, a little bit forward, and to see that we can get some progress with those especially who've been suffering and waiting for a long time. So we appreciate, if you have any other questions, please let us know, or comments, call us. John, yes?
I was just going to add, today is a day of a hearing on an important council bill. As hotel workers get ready to return to work, I think after October 15th, they are asking the city council to pass a measure that would guarantee, one, their return to work by order of length of service, that they would ensure that the hotels would be sanitized and safe for return to work to protect hotel workers and their families. So I think it's, if people can help by calling the city councilor, registering their support for Council Bill 80, and is supported by Local 5 of the Hotel and Restaurant Employees Union.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, John. Yes, really appreciate that plug, because our hotel workers indeed are still nervous about reopening, and they've been really trying to get some kind of assurance from all of the hotels that they'll continue to follow through on protocols that will ensure the safety, especially not only of the visitors, but mainly of the workers, which is their concern. All right, any other questions and comments, dear friends?
Friend, I just wanted to add to what Bill said earlier regarding the COFA migrants. I think in Hawaii, one of the issue that we had earlier is with our I-94, there was no option to input the I-94. However, the department did corrected that, and they had an option for the COFA migrants to add their I-94 number to the application. Now, the issue is an ongoing issue with the COFA migrants is understanding the system or navigating the system that DLIR have. One, they're unable to log on. Number two, when they're able to log on, many of them usually click on file a claim instead of file a certification. And I think that's an issue that I found helping others. It's an ongoing issue, and it's also one of the reasons why their application is put in the disqualified bracket. So that we had to call the unemployment to solve the issue, and also to request for a back date. And I think we will continue to have more issues, especially now that we're in the middle of pandemic and people are starting to run out of resources, not going back to work. People had used up whatever money left they have, and their phones, internet is going to cut off. And it's going to be an issue filing their unemployment.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, so Phil, you definitely pointing to, more challenges for our folks, and especially, in the midst of this continuing cascading of job losses and displacement, we haven't seen the the end of it, not even close. Thank you, Phil. Dear friends, is there any other comments now that we need? We want to close our session this morning, and so that we can continue on to the work. Thank you very much.
So again, I just want to thank everyone for those that share their stories. I know this is just some of the stories of the many thousands that we're hearing from. So this recording will be on our Facebook page later on. And of course, feel free to follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and on our website. And if you have any other questions, contact the Hawaii Worker Center via email or by phone. And again, just thank you for taking the time just to be part of this today. Thank you very much.